So yeah, thank you for taking the time to join us today in our Atlantic crossing weather tools preparation webinar. It's going to be pretty high level introduction to what we would use, and yeah, so we're not going to get into too much detail, but we're definitely going to cover off what you can use and a little bit about how you'd use it and why you would have that stuff. So my name is Nick Olsen. I have worked at PredictWind for about 6 years, and I'm a sailor. I've sailed since I was 6 years old. Do a bit of two-handed offshore sailing, and and I use PredictWind and the stuff that we're going to talk about in the real world. So I've got a fairly good idea about how it all works. I'll just stop sharing my screen. Could probably turn that off so you can see me. So yes, you will be able to ask questions in the Q&A today. And on the panel we have a bunch of the PredictWind support team. So we've got Karen McMaster. She's the head of our support team. She's a former Volvo ocean race sailor and done many sea miles. We have Tracy, who's a kiter, and she takes care of a lot of our billing side of stuff, so she can answer anything there. We've got Smiley, who is also a former Volvo sailor and does a lot of boat deliveries, so he's got plenty of miles. We'll actually look at one of his tracks later on in the webinar from one of the trips that he's done. And we have Sam Bullock, and Sam is a super awesome kiter, and he's also the head of our development team, so he can probably answer any technical questions. And yeah, so that's who you're talking to today. Just a little bit more about our support team before we get into the webinar. All of them are awesome people, and they're all sailors. And so when you talk to our support team, they know what it's like to be out there. They can understand what it is to any issues that you have, and they're extremely knowledgeable and very nice people. So please always reach out to them and ask them any questions you have. And if there's questions that you don't get answered in the webinar today, feel free to reach out to our support desk. So a little bit about PredictWind. PredictWind's been around for about 12 years and was started by John Bilger after he was the weather man for Alingi in the America's Cup, and a lot of the technology that they developed there ended up in PredictWind. So especially on the modeling side, we've spent the last 12 years trying to make it as user-friendly as we can. So the goal at PredictWind is to make complex weather simple and accessible to anyone, anywhere. And the anywhere is pretty much is what we're going to cover a bit of today, because getting high quality weather data when you're out at sea doing a crossing is what keeps you safe, and we think it's essential. Okay, I think I can jump into it. Yeah, as I say, the Q&A box is there, so yeah, feel free to ask questions. We've got plenty of people on the panel there. Okay, so I will go to screen sharing, and actually no, I won't. I'll just, before I do that. So first of all, we're going to talk about the Iridium Go. Actually, should I talk? No, I'll just quickly give it. Well, we will screen share. We'll go into here and share, and we will. Well, there's still people joining. Anyway, welcome to those that have joined a little bit late. My name is Nick, and I'm running the webinar today. The number's still going up, so we've got nearly 1,300 people in the webinar, so that's pretty awesome. I'm just going to flick over here to the PredictWind apps and scroll that up, and what we have at PredictWind is we have two main apps, and we have the PredictWind app and website. And so that is what you use when you are in the marina, when you're at home, when you're going for a day sail, anywhere that you have Wi-Fi coverage, use the PredictWind app or the website. It's loaded with features. It's, you got wind maps, you can do weather routing in there. It's got cloud maps, it's got tables and graphs and sol lunar and tides. It's amazing. Observations, forecast alerts. It's packed full of really good stuff. It's an awesome app. The reason I'm mentioning this is that there are actually people that think that we only do this side, which is the offshore stuff, and that's really what we're going to focus on today, and cover off is what we would use offshore for our Atlantic crossing. So the offshore app, which we will go into a bit later, you can use it if you've got basically any satellite connection that you can send attachments with, or that you can make a direct connection with. So far as satellite goes, we're going to talk a lot about the Iridium GO today. You can also use it with an SSB connection, so long as you can send and receive attachments via email. You can use PredictWind when you're offshore. The offshore app shows GRIBs. GRIBs are essentially a format that we transfer the weather data in, and then what you see on the screen is the graphics that interpret that GRIB data. It's a compressed file, and so it's efficient to transfer over a satellite connection. Obviously, the offshore app does weather routing, which is really important to us, and satellite imagery, bunch of other stuff. It's and tracking, which we'll talk about later. It's a very cool piece of software. This is what you use if you're going offline at all. So even if you're doing a coastal passage, you can use the offshore app because all the data is saved offline. But yeah, works for the purpose of what we're going to talk about today. So we will start with the Iridium GO. Here we go, we're on our Iridium GO page. So if you know anything about PredictWind, you probably know that we do push this product pretty hard. There's a pretty good reason for that. It is cost effective, and it works for the job we want it to do. It's definitely at the lower end of the cost spectrum so far as a proper Iridium device goes. So things like an inReach or a spot tracker, they can only do short burst data. An Iridium GO can actually make a proper data connection. So with the Iridium GO, we can make voice calls, we can do SMS, so we can message people, we can do emails, and we can do, most importantly, we can do weather downloads and proper weather downloads, not just a spot forecast. We can get weather routing and GMDSS, and which is we'll talk about later, and and all our GRIB files, and we can choose what we get in the software. But the Iridium GO is the satellite device that we use for that. So we'll just scroll down the page here, and you can see there what the cost of it is. So you see there's just the unit there, and then there's this marine package. Now, having used this and used it in anger offshore, I can't recommend the marine package enough. Really good reason for that. So see on this little unit here, it's probably hard to see me, but anyway, the antenna on the actual Iridium GO unit is pretty small. It's just that's that tiny little bit there. This little flip up bit there, that's the antenna. And so with satellite connections. Bigger is better. And the other thing is, if you just have the unit, this unit needs to be up on deck to get a satellite connection. You can't have that down in your cabin and expect this little antenna to see satellites. The Iridium GO picks up the satellites from 8 degrees off the horizon, and it follows them through the sky. And before that one disappears, it picks up another one, and so that's, you know, the unit needs a clear view of that. So that's why we recommend this marine package, because the marine package has the external antenna and the cable. So you can have the unit inside, and you've got the external antenna in a place on your boat where it can see the horizon all the time, and you just get much better results. For sure, people have just used this, and it does work, but you know, when it's rough, and that's when you're really going to be thinking about the weather, is when it's not that nice. You want to be able to connect easily to get your new weather, or to, you know, email someone, or whatever you want to do. Yeah, so we really recommend that that marine package with the external antenna. So it's the way to go. What's next? SIM cards. So this inside here, inside the unit, it has a SIM card. So the SIM card goes inside the unit, and that is your that's what you do for your billing. That's what you you know, that's how you connect it to the Iridium network and a plan. So these are the plans. Again, I'm not trying to upsell anyone here, but the reason that we another thing you'll see is that we recommend this unlimited plan, and that is one of the beauties of the Iridium GO, is that they do offer an unlimited data plan. So that means that you're not worried about getting your weather data. You're like, oh, it doesn't matter, because I've got unlimited data. I don't need to worry about whether I'm going to get a massive bill from Iridium, because it's a fixed cost for your data. So you can get your weather twice a day after each forecast update, which is 12 hourly. So, you know, twice a day you can update your weather routing, get new grids, and see what's going on. And yeah, because the most recent forecast is always going to be your best one, and you always want to be updating, so you can see if something's developed since the last forecast run. Yeah, so you'll quickly chew through the 150 bundled minutes in that one. I've seen it before, seen people do it really quickly. So having the unlimited data package it's worth it. You know, it's about safety, and you know, it makes your life a lot less complicated, just being able to use it as you wish. Has 150 minutes of voice calling. Some people don't want to talk on the phone when they're out sailing, and that's fine. But the real key here is the unlimited data, which gives you unlimited weather downloads, unlimited SMS, and unlimited emailing. And so that, you know, that's what you want it for. So yes, that's cool. There's some accessories there, and yeah, that's the external antenna that I was talking about, and this cable which runs outside. You can mount the unit in the boat, and yeah, and away you go. So really nice having this mounted inside the boat with the external antenna. It's definitely the way to go. So just another thing on this plan, you know, with the unlimited SMS, that means it can send your GPS position every hour without paying for the text messages, which allows you to do the tracking. So scroll down the page here a bit more, and we will come to the apps. So how the Iridium GO works is that you can connect. So this unit, the Iridium GO unit, makes the connection to a satellite, and you can then connect your smartphone or an iPad to the Wi-Fi. This makes a local Wi-Fi, just like your Wi-Fi router at home. And so within your boat, you have this local Wi-Fi, and you can connect your phone or your iPad or a laptop. And you'll see most of the stuff you'll read about the Iridium Go. You'll go, no, it can only connect to an iPad or a phone or a tablet. That's not true. So it's all about the software. So the PredictWind Offshore App can connect to the Iridium Go, as you see here, on a PC, a Mac, an iPad, an iPhone, an Android phone, or an Android tablet. And actually something we don't have on there is a Chromebook. So yeah, that they can all be used to connect to your Iridium Go. And as I said before, the Offshore App will connect to basically any other type of satellite connection as well. And what I'm talking about there is, let's say you had a Certus unit or connection, or a Inmarsat, so anything, basically anything that has a proper data connection that Offshore App can talk to. So, but we're going to, as we're talking about the Iridium Go, so the Iridium Go app, so that is, you load that onto your phone or your tablet or both, and everyone on the boat can have it, and that's what you can make your phone calls on, and that's what you can do your SMS on as well. So basically, you just, just like any other app on your phone, you actually, before we go there, let's hold up. Before you can do anything with it, I mean, it needs to be on, but if you've got it installed in your boat, it can always be on. But you need to connect your Wi-Fi to the Iridium Go. So the Wi-Fi on your phone or your iPad needs to connect to the Iridium Go Wi-Fi. So that's always a key step, and sometimes people miss that, and I miss talking about it. So there we go. And then you can make your phone call or do your SMS. When an SMS comes in, the unit actually will make a little ding when someone sends you one. So you don't need to be sitting there on your phone with it connected all the time. You actually hear this make a little, the unit makes a little bell sound. The Iridium Mail app, I call it the Iridium Mail app because they say it's the Mail and Web app, but the web functionality of it is very, very limited. I wouldn't even recommend using it for that purpose. You cannot check your banking on it. If you want to do that sort of stuff, you need to buy a much more expensive satellite system, a much faster one. But it's great for email. You can email to your heart's content, which is pretty nice. But yeah, don't expect it to surf the web or anything like that. Just don't. So then, and then we have the Offshore App, which we'll go into talking about. So I'll just stop that there. So I will stop screen sharing. Stop share. Okay. And do I need to look at the questions? No, I'm pretty sure everyone's. Oh yeah, okay. So I'll just answer I see a question there about the SIM cards. So the reason we have more than one SIM card is that you can disconnect your SIM card and then you're paying nothing. And then let's say you're somewhere for a month or two, and you don't need a satellite connection. So then you just pull out your next SIM card and you activate that. And so our activation is completely free. We have a satellite portal that you activate on, and that the activation happens in about 10 minutes. It's all automated. There's no human interaction there. You're not waiting for Kieran to get out of bed to activate your SIM. It's all automated. Yeah. So, and just for anyone, you know, we're just a reseller of the Iridium Go. We don't make it. We're just yeah, but we are the largest seller of that product in the world. So, which is pretty good. Righty ho, let's get into yeah. So we will talk more about. We have a lot of tutorials on the Iridium Go and how you set it up and how you use it. And also, if you have any questions about the Iridium Go, please feel free to ask our support team. Righty ho. Let's see. Yeah, we'll talk about download speed and whatnot. So, all right, I'll just keep carrying on. And let's go to another screen share. Just go to there and change it. Right. So where I've gone to here is I've actually gone to the PredictWind forecast site, and in here, this is what I was talking about before, the PredictWind app and the PredictWind forecast site. The reason I've come in here is before we do anything with, you know, before we do our passage, you know, so we've got our Iridium Go and or whatever other system we want to use. We've set all that up, and then now we're all ready to start using PredictWind, you know, to get our weather, and that's really what we're here to talk about. So to begin with, we need to, you can come in here and have a play. So you can come in here and you can run weather routes and do all that sort of thing. But a really important thing to do is set up your polars. So I'll talk about this in the next webinar that we do. I'll talk about polars some more. But for anyone that doesn't know what polars are how fast we think your boat's going to go. So how fast the software thinks your boat's going to go. I just need to move something there. The Zoom thing's in the way of what I want to look at. So yeah, I was in the weather routing tab up there, and then I just clicked on the routing preferences, and I've gone in here and I can adjust my polars. There's a bunch of stuff that I can do here, but let's keep it simple. So we have a predefined polar there, a power, a sail, and an advanced. The advanced polar is if you want to create your own polar table. So if I click on that, you'll see there that I've got the polars in there for the race boat that I sail. I've worked on those polars quite a bit. I've got them pretty close to the boat's boat speed. Why is this important? The closer that you can get these polars to what you actually do out on the water, the more accurate your weather routing is, you know, where you're going to be in relation to that system. It can make a big difference. It's really important. So you see here, I've been I'm doing a webinar on Monday for the Vendée. So I've been looking at Amokas. But so we can come in here and there's a lot of boats in here on this list. If your boat's not on this list, even if your boat is on the list, you know, choose your boat. But if your boat's not on the list, you could choose one that you know is a similar speed to what your one is. And if not, we've got some generic ones up here. And let's say you choose one of those. You want to look at the results and see whether that matches what your boat speed is. Excuse me. This is something that you can come back and revisit. You know, do it, look at it, try it, compare it. Really important. Anyway, I'll stop banging on about that. So let's choose one. Let's pretend we're Delos for the day. I don't know whether it's an ML 54 or 55, something like that. Anyway, and so I've chosen that polar, so that's that boat speed. And then I can go back in here into the weather routing tab, and to save that in the system, I can click on calculate. And I'm actually going to go out of here before that finishes, and but that would save it in our account, and those polars would be logged against, you know, my email address, you know, against my PredictWind login. So when I send a request from the offshore app and I've got my username and password in there, it knows it's me and that I've got an ML55, and that they're my polars. But I've got other things that I can adjust on those polars in there. Okay, so let's stop sharing this screen, and we will go in here to another screen share. Okay, so what I've gone to here is the PredictWind Offshore App. So you'll see it looks pretty similar to the page we were just in. It does similar stuff, but this piece of software works quite differently. It's a standalone app. I call it an app. It's a piece of software on your computer. You'll see I've got it here on my iPad, and yeah, and I've also got my other PredictWind and Iridium apps on my iPad. So I could do this demonstration on the iPad, but then I'd have to plug it in and blah blah. So we won't. We'll just do it all on the computer. If I was on my preferred way of looking at the weather is actually on a laptop with the offshore app. The reason for that is I've got a slightly bigger screen. That's the you know, I suppose if I had an iPad Pro with a big screen, that would be good too. Any iPad's good. The phone, I have used the phone before. It's just it is a bit small, but when it's rough, sometimes holding onto this. I've had a time when I was doing the round North Island race, we went around Cape Reinga, which is the north of New Zealand. It was super rough, and all I could do was move my green start waypoint to which is this here, this bit here. And the Iridium, if I had my Iridium Go turned on, there'd be a little white dot on the screen showing me where I am, and all I could do was move that to the white dot, and then I just clicked download, and it was already connected to the Iridium Go, and it just downloaded all my weather, and I lay back on the floor of the boat and was able, but you know, I was able to get new weather, and it was that simple, and that's a really great thing about the Iridium Go and the offshore app, is that you know, it can be that simple. I just needed to move my start point and click download, and because probably something I should have mentioned before, because this software, the PredictWind Offshore App, can make a data connection, it can do a direct download. So back in the old days with this sort of software, people had to do email requests. So they'd send off an email and then wait a few minutes, then an email would come back with the grids, then you'd load the grids into your grid viewer, and then you'd run your weather out from there. And so that could take, and a lot of software still does do that, by the way, but that can take half an hour of actually having to work on it. Whereas we can click that button, that download button, and away we go. So anyway, here we are. So we want to be wherever we are starting from. You'll see here we've got our Atlantic crossing all set up. Let's say that we're a day out and we've moved to there. So before I left, I downloaded as much weather data as I could. But now I'm on my satellite connection. I'll just check the time. As you can see, I'm a bit of a talker. So I've we've sailed for a day, and I followed the routing, and I'm here. And so what I can do now, my destination doesn't need to move, and I can come over here and I can click on download, and you'll see. So before I left, I got everything. I got high resolution grids, which is, you know, the 8K and 1K, and that's great when we're next to land. You know, over here or over here, really awesome. But when we're doing the ocean crossing, they'll be too big for the speed of our Iridium GO, and a lot of other satellite connections as well. You'd be burning big bucks downloading them. But the good thing is that Weather Router uses them regardless, and the Weather Router is a really tiny file size. So we'll turn those off. I've got my Zoom thing in the way again. And you'll see here I downloaded heaps of stuff, but for our Iridium GO connection, we need to keep our file size small. That's 2.4 kilobytes or 2.4 baud is the download speed. So super slow. So you'll see here, we've got down the bottom here, we've got our file size estimator, 65 kilobytes. And so I'm going to start turning some stuff off. I want the wind, I want the pressure, I want the rain. The wave might be, I might want to get that later. I'll see once I've looked at the weather routing, but I'll turn it off for now. I'll turn the cloud off, I'll turn the temperature off. Do I want the cape? Maybe. Well, let's leave those on. We can always go to change our time step of the grids, and we can also reduce our days, which will reduce our file size. And I can also change the resolution of the grids that I'm going to get. Got observations, I'll leave them on. We might get a couple. We do have buoys in the Atlantic and the Pacific. We have NDBC buoys and SOFAR. SOFAR have these spotter buoys. I was talking to a guy from SOFAR yesterday, and they've been throwing them off a ship. And so there's a line of these spotter buoys that give us wind data out of the ocean going across the path that the ship's been. It was really cool. But why would we look at observations? Because then we can look at an observation, we can compare it to our grid, and we can go, okay, the grid file, that weather model in the grid file is right. Ocean data, we can't get that while we're at sea, well, on the Iridium GO, because it's too big. But again, if you have the the weather router is using that ocean data to calculate it, and this is why the cloud routing that we do is so awesome. So you see here our file sizes come down a lot, and I can click next, and you see I've got my start time is now. I could put that in the future if I was doing planning. I've got weather routing in here. I just clicked on that settings wheel up there. I can change my polar speed. So this is really important. This comes back to polars. I could say, actually, it's a little bit unrealistic what I've got set in my account. I'm out at sea. I can't change it. But what I can change is the polar percentage. So that means that it's going to, obviously I've got it set at 80% there. It's going to be 80% of whatever those polars were that I had set. So it's a bit slower. I've got my tidal and ocean currents turned on. And we also have a comfort setting there, which I'm not a fan of, because I prefer to just let the weather router run for the fastest time, and then use my seamanship skills to decide whether I want to go, I might want to go above that system, or give it a bit of a wider berth. And I could put I'd then adjust my routing for that. The comfort settings will do that for you, but you just want to be careful with it. You want to know, where it's taking you and why. Anyway, we won't dwell on that too much because we'll come back to that in the next webinar. GMDSS, always recommend that you get it. It's a written forecast from the local Met area. So whether it's, if you're in the US, it's written by some meteorologist at NOAA, etc. Depending on wherever you are in the world. They're big areas, but it's a really good warning system. If there's a depression forming somewhere that may not be able to be seen in the grids, you'll read about it in the GMDSS. Really great. We've got our GPS tracking on there because we want to be able to see where our mates are out at sea. And I'll click on next. You see here I've got my download, my files here, and I've got a huge area set. So actually I'll just quickly go back to that. So I can go here and I can actually change my grid area. So if I make my grid area a bit smaller, and then go back to download, and you'll see my download file size is a bit smaller. Still probably really at the big end for the Iridium Go, but we won't worry about that too much today. I could change different parameters. I could make that area smaller. I could drop off some of the bits. Just click on next. So yeah, here's our download file size. It's too big for me to get all the observations because that file's it doesn't want to allow me to do that area. But anyway, because I downloaded the weather before, but we'll just update it. So the weather hasn't changed. There hasn't been a grid, there hasn't been a forecast run since I downloaded this just before the webinar. I don't really need to download everything, but anyway, let's click on download all. You'll see it's going to calculate our weather route. The weather route is taking a little while to calculate, and that is because it has sent this tiny little file size off to the PredictWind servers, and the PredictWind servers are calculating everything. They are calculating the ocean currents, high resolution grids. You know, they know my polars, they know my polar percentage. They are using the highest resolution atmospheric and ocean data that they can get. So it's going to take, might take a minute or so for it to calculate, and then it'll come back. But the file size is going to be about 6-7 kilobytes. So whether if you're an SSB user or any other, you know, Iridium Go user, you'll know that the smaller that file size, the better. It's a really great feature, and it means that you can save yourself a bunch of time. When the Iridium Go is doing its download, you know, let's say like that file size there that I did was really big. Let's say that took, you know, you can do a 5-minute download, a 15-minute download, or a 30-minute download, because we're on the unlimited plan. We don't care about the time. And the beauty of this is I could set it going, and it would keep, even if it dropped the satellite and then re-picked up the satellite, the software has a mid-file restart, and it'll just keep on downloading. You'll see there our weather route has come back. So I'll close that, and we've got a bunch of stuff here in the table. So this wind here, this is where we would look and see. So we're not going to go too far into it, but you'll see here we've got our speed over ground, and our true wind angle and the true wind speed. And so this is where you want to look and go, in 12 knots at 135, which is a pretty hot angle, can I do 10.3 knots? Does my boat do 10.3 knots in 12 knots? Pretty quick boat, if you ask me. So yeah, that's where you want to, this is where you want to come to compare and see if your polars are correct or not. We've got, I said before, let's not get the wave, because I've got the wave is all in here, and I can also see this on the screen in the weather routing too. Currents. I can also export the route and put it in a chart plotter. So you'll see here, I've just flipped over to the map, and I reduced that the area down, and we've got our weather routing, and the reason we've got the 4 lines is because we've got the weather router calculated for our boat using 4 different weather models. Why do we do that? Because we can see that, at least for this earlier part here, there's a reasonable consensus between these 3, and then, but by the time we get to here, we would do another weather route. And when we do that next weather route, we might see that all these routes have come back together, and so that this difference here has got smaller. But we want to see what the differences are between the models. So we might go, I'm on the PWG model at the moment. I can run through that, and I can get to this point here, and it wants me to go. The PWG wants me to go down here. Obviously, it thinks there's some good breeze down here. but I can flick over to the ECMWF, and you'll see in the ECMWF model, it thinks there's going to be more breeze up here, which the PWG didn't. So that's probably why we're seeing a bit of difference. There's a lot of analysis that we can do with this. Something that I really like to look at is the gusts. It can really give a different picture of the route. You'll see there that that sort of changed quite dramatically when we looked at the gust. I mean, still nothing that I would be concerned about. I can click on the screen anywhere and I can see what the wind speed is. 17 knots with gusts 23, quite stable, because there's not a big difference between the average wind speed and the gusts. What I can also do is I can click on the route and I can see, I've run out of weather there, haven't I? Because I only got 5 days. Let's click back here. And you can see here, I've got my waves. So it's 1.9 meters from 36 with an 8.3 second period. And what the wind direction is, etc. So current. Anyhow, we'll move on from that. You can spend a lot of time with the weather routing. I would implore you to really get into it. I'm a bit of a geek with it myself. It's actually how I started working at PredictWind, was that I was playing computer games doing weather routing. But it can be a lot of fun, and also it is a pretty serious tool that can, it's the different, using this tool and doing your weather routing and doing it well. It's the difference between, on the most serious end of the scale, it can be the difference between life and death. But it's also the difference between having a really enjoyable sail, and where you can manage expectations and know what you're what you're heading into. You can avoid stuff that you don't like. You can slow down so a system goes in front of you. You can push it so that you need to keep in front of something. Planning your trip. You can, the difference of leaving one day compared to the next could make all the difference to whether you have a really good trip or not. And it's I can't emphasize how important that is. Look at the weather, understand what you're going to get, and never leave on a schedule. Like, just sail to the weather, go sailing when you're going to have a good trip. I'll talk about that more in our next webinar. So what I wanted to quickly look at here was the GPS tracking, because we downloaded that before, and you'll see here I've got some funny tracks. The green one is me sailing around the North Island, and some other ones here are just some random boats that I picked up. But what I wanted to demonstrate here was that I'm offshore. I can see where these other boats are that are using PredictWind, and I can see where they are and what they're doing, which is pretty cool. So if you're in a rally or you had a buddy boat, someone else that was doing the crossing with you, you could both have your GPS tracking set up. You can see where each other are on the map, and have a look at what they're doing. You see here that I can also get some idea of what's going on board their boat, because I've downloaded, they've done blog posts, so you can do blog posts in the offshore app. And so I can, even if I don't know them, I can see what's going on. They might have had it's nice to know what other people are doing out there, and a nice bit of communication. But the cool thing about it as well is, I will stop sharing this, and we will share screen. PredictWind, this one here, share. Okay, so here we have the track of SV Ayla. So this is Craig, or Smiley, who is on our panel today. This is a trip that he did, I think it was last year. And you'll see he sailed from New Zealand up to Fiji and back. And he did some he did some blog posts, and see here he's even caught some fish, which was pretty cool. And you know, he's uploaded this photo and a little bit of chat about what it is, you know, what they're doing, you know, when they're expecting to be in. So anyone at home can see this. So you know, your friends or family that are following you, I mean, not only can they see where you are and that you're still progressing nicely, which is a nice safety factor, but they can also sort of be a little part of your journey there. So it's pretty cool. Just flick over to this one here. This is a little rally that's going on at the moment. Obviously, moving between certain countries can be a bit hard. So there's some people coming back to New Zealand, and you'll see I'm on the satellite map view. We have a wind view and a satellite map view. And this here is all the tracks from the Round North Island race that I did, and you can see that, you know, if you have a rally, that you can have lots and lots of boats in there. But yeah, we later next year sometime, there's actually going to be a chat feature in here, so that you can talk to each other. And but even now, the being able to read these blog posts of someone else, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much going to wrap it up there.